I'm kicking off this review with a negative sort of bugbear that I have with the new Clio, and that's the boot system, which I can't recall if it was on the previous model, but it's sort of like when you want to unlock it, if you put your hand at the bottom, you click, and then it's not the same thing. Like the other part of the boot then lifts up. So I know this is like probably a very, very futile, ridiculous thing, but do you know how irritating it is when I do that? I have pulled that thing, I've almost like pulled my shoulder out of its socket trying to pull it, and then only to realize that actually that's not part of the lifting part of the boot. Just something to say. Anyways, that's negativity out of the window. But look, unfortunately in the hatchback segment, no matter what car you're reviewing, you have to compare it to the Polo. It is the best selling in the segment. It's the second best selling passenger car in the country, just behind the Polo Viva. So do you know what I mean? You've got to, it just is what it is. And I've just recently driven the latest Polo a couple of weeks back, so I'm quite glad that I got to do that and then drive this, because it's just nice to sort of drive them almost back to back so that you can compare. This is what I will say, like the Polo will still remain the bestseller. It just is. It's almost faultless. This will not beat it. But that's not to say that the Clio is bad in any way, because it's not. It's just not as good as the Polo, which that's why I'm here. Okay, I have to compare it all and whatever, and if you disagree, whatever. Just driven past another Clio. I mean, they're all over, you know. I mean, look, this one has taken forever to get here. It launched in 2019 already, but because of a bazillion reasons like cost and pandemics and we only saw this arrive this year, now in Feb. So it's brand spanking new in our country, but not brand spanking new in another country, overseas. Other sort of maybe drawback is that it only comes with one engine at this point, and also only mated to a 5-speed manual transmission. Bummer. But we will see. So next year, I mean, we're sort of halfway, like midway sort of through its life cycle just about. So we should see a facelift arrive next year, and then hopefully see sort of an auto, maybe a 6-speed manual, because I miss that. Who doesn't want a 6-gear? Everybody does. Sure, I don't think anybody goes, you know what, nah, I'd rather just take the 5 gears. But let's chat about the engine quickly. Okay, so it's 1 litre, 3-cylinder turbo petrol. You get 74 kilowatts of power and 160 newton meters of torque, which happens to be a little bit more than the previous Clio, and actually more than the Polo. So now there is another negative for me, like a slight one, and that's the fact that if you're on an incline, it isn't great, and it also does sort of, it just sounds a little bit unrefined. I live in a very hilly area, so I'm constantly going up hills, and so the sound constantly drones into the cabin, which for me is a real annoyance. But with that said, on the highway, this car is quite beautiful. It's sort of smooth shifting, smooth acceleration, easy to overtake. There's more than enough power. Again, I'll mention the 6th gear. I tried to put it into 6th gear 1,000 times, and almost put myself into reverse instead. So that's the only sort of letdown there for me, is that it should have a 6th gear. So fuel consumption is claimed in the 5s, like high 5s. I'm sitting at 7.8 litres per 100k, so a little bit high for my liking. I would like it to be lower, but also I'm not a very economical driver. I will admit that. I'll take both to that. You got the music in you. One, let go. You got the music in you. One, let's go. That's when it's gonna pull through. Your toss. Oh, I missed it. Give it to me now. So I'm driving the top of the range intense model with option pack. Comes in at like 360,000 rand-ish. But to be fair, it really has just about everything you need. It's got 17 inches, 17-inch alloys. The screen is ever so slightly bigger. It's got a reverse camera. This touchscreen, though, by the way, is quite lovely. I think it looks awesome, and it's very user-friendly. and it's sort of responsive and all the sort of things you want from a touchscreen, which often I find them to be totally bollocks, to be honest. I mean, I don't love the volume buttons and everything here that irritate the bejesus out of me because they're not actual buttons, but you do have one behind the steering wheel, which I'd completely forgotten about and only just realized after a week of driving this car. Oh no, thanks. Okay, bye. Don't move over. So having these buttons here are quite nifty. The scrolling, like tracking, whatever for the radio thing, that I keep bringing up royally. So I think that would take some getting used to. Now you also get a wireless charging pad, okay, on this intense pack option, whatever guy. And the problem with this is that every time I put anything else in there but my phone, a little message comes up here and says, okay, don't put anything in there because otherwise it's not going to charge your phone. I'm okay with it telling me that once. I like to have it then a tick box that I can go, do not show me this message again, and tick it, because it happens every single time. And I don't know about you, but I often put shit all over. Like if I'm not needing to charge my phone, maybe the key's going to go in there, maybe, I don't know, my mask, my glasses, you know, all sorts of things. That's a little bit annoying. What I'm really thrilled about is that Renault has brought this product here in all its glory, because after the abysmal Kiger, this, I'm just so glad. I'm like, yay Renault, because I was really disappointed by that car. So this has sort of, what's the word, restored my faith. Not that I needed to, I didn't like lose my faith completely, but you know, it was a bit of a bummer. So I'm really thrilled about this. I do love the locking system in this car. So as you know, you walk away from the car, it locks. As you walk near it, it unlocks. I find a lot of the systems to always be a little bit like temperamental. They lock like as you get out the car, so you go around and then you try and get your son out the car and they're like, sorry, no, nah, the car's locked already. Whereas this sort of does it like at a good distance away. I should probably measure all of them. I mean, I don't measure because who's got time for that? But I like the way that the system works. I haven't actually had the key with me almost at all, or like holding it, because of that reason. And I can't say that about most of the cars. And I'm talking about fanciest cars that cost bazillions, and their locking system and unlocking drives me bonkers. So look, this car I think is fabulous in compared to the other one. It's sort of a little bit more sporty, a little bit more dynamic, and that's it's got a tweaked sort of chassis and tuned suspension, which you can really feel. And I think like a Clio fan, if you loved a Clio, you're going to absolutely love this, because it's now better and, you know, a little bit bigger actually in space, inside, not outside. But like I say, it's not going to take away from the Polo. I think if you're a Polo driver, you're not going to drive this. Although, I mean, you could. I mean, I have thoroughly enjoyed driving it, but I'd probably still stick with the Polo. But that's not just me who thinks that. Apparently all South Africans.